We're going to go through each of the types of neutrophilia. It's really important to be able to differentiate these and to not mistakenly interpret one for the other because they have implications for your patient. So a stress neutrophilia is mediated by cortisol. And so this is that one, during exam week, lots of cortisol. And so this cortisol or stress hormone can be in response to endogenous, so that could be made within the body, such as with that chronic life stress, or potentially due to a cortisol secreting tumor or ACTH secreting tumor increasing cortisol by the adrenals, and that's Cushing's disease or hyperadrenocorticism. Or it can be exogenous corticosteroids administered by a veterinarian or owner. And so this usually occurs within hours to days. So the physiologic epinephrine neutrophilia that we talk about is within, minutes to hours. So this is longer occurring hours to days. And so it's got kind of two mechanisms. One is that you get a release of storage neutrophils. And so these are released into the blood. So that storage pool releases mature neutrophils. And the other is due to corticosteroid effects on neutrophils. And so the corticosteroids actually downregulate the adhesion molecule. So normally, remember we talked about marginal neutrophils rolling along our vessel walls so they can get into tissue. Well, that actually gets downregulated from the corticosteroids, decreasing the stickiness, so they don't adhere as well to the vessel wall, and they wind up going from the marginal pool into the circulating pool. So these guys all go into circulation, and so you have an increase in circulating pool, and that's why the second reason, so that was reason number one, and that's reason number two, why you get a mild neutrophilia. So you get a neutrophilia, it's mild, meaning it's less than 2 times the upper reference limit, and it's mature. But the defining feature of a stress leukogram is actually a lymphopenia. And so you look for a lymphopenia to prove that you have a stress neutrophilia. So the neutrophilia may or may not be there, but lymphopenia, that is what equals our stress leukogram. And then the neutrophils may or may not be there. And the reason you have a lymphopenia is because the lymphocytes go to lymphoid organs where they sort of wait for antigen to be presented. You may also see an increase in monocytes, and that's similar in the mechanism of why you see a neutrophilia, actually. And so monocytes may or may not be increased. You may see an increase in glucose due to corticosteroid effects, that's possible. And you may see a decrease in eosinophils. And the eosinophils decrease kind of similar to the lymphopenia, except they mostly go to the bone marrow. So you may see these or you may not see these. So this is a stress neutrophilia. So one of the reasons that you're predisposed to infection when you have a lot of corticosteroids is because neutrophils have decreased stickiness, so their decreased ability to marginate into tissues. The last thing that you can see with increases in endogenous or exogenous cortisol is you can actually see hypersegmentation in the neutrophil. So instead of having 4 or 5 segments, you can actually have multiple segments. So I'm trying to draw a segmented neutrophil. So, normally we have only like 3 to 5 segments. So greater than 5 segments can mean that the neutrophils have been in circulation a long time, because again, they can't go into the tissues, and so they become hypersegmented. And that can indicate or can be seen with cortisol, but it's not really a defining feature, and we don't focus on it a lot.